Such was the power of ROH in the mid-2000s that a feud between legends like Samoa Joe and Nigel McGuinness can be considered a hidden gem. Between 2005 and 2007, Samoa Joe and Nigel McGuinness wrestled in 6 singles matches for ROH, culminating in one of Joe's final matches for the company during his initial run in Nigel's homeland of England. As much as these matches are a display of Joe's excellent wrestling and intimidating aura, I think these matches stand out best as a bit of a timeline for Nigel McGuinness's early career in Ring of Honor. Each match provides the slightest bit of progression for Nigel as he makes subtle changes to his persona and ring work with each new encounter. Joe, on the other hand, remains the constant force opposing him at every turn. So let's dig a little deeper and take a look at the rivalry between Samoa Joe and Nigel McGuinness. This first match comes at an interesting time. Nigel McGuinness is a young upstart still trying to find his footing in the company. Meanwhile, Samoa Joe is wrestling his first match since his near 2-year-long reign as ROH World Champion was ended the month before. As such, he's looking to reassert himself as still being the top dog in ROH at the expense of Nigel. Nigel's youth and inexperience are very clear in this match. He's preoccupied jaw-jacking with the crowd, whereas Joe is laser-focused on dealing damage. As such, Joe dominates most of the affair until something special happens towards the finishing stretch. Despite being the clear villain in the match, Nigel fires up in defiance against Joe before being battered back down into humility. Joe grabs the choke on him and gains the submission victory. This is a wonderfully effective match that succeeds in accomplishing 2 things. It reestablishes Joe in the company as a dominant force following his title loss, and plants a little seed that this Nigel McGuinness kid might have something real special in him. Throughout 2005, Nigel and Joe would then engage in a series of matches over the Pure Championship. After Joe wins the title from Jay Lethal, Nigel is one of his first challengers at ROH The Future Is Now. This introduces a great new dynamic as now both Nigel and Joe have to best fit their styles to the Pure rules. The Pure rules at the time were incredibly similar to how they are now. One key difference, however, is how closed fist punches were penalized. Instead of an instant disqualification after a second closed fist, the offending wrestler instead loses one of their rope breaks. And also, the Pure title was eligible to change hands on either a countout or a disqualification. Having carried the ROH World title for so long, Joe spent a lot of time looking down at the Pure title as an inferior achievement. As such, he's prone to making careless mistakes like going for his closed fist punches and finding himself getting warnings for it. For Joe, the Pure rules are far more of a hindrance than anything else. They're something that contain him and his ferocity more than they channel it. Still, with someone as explosive and violent as Joe, he can still pull out the victory and retain against Nigel. The two would match up again at ROH Dragon Gate Invasion in August. This time, however, Nigel has already noted Joe's weaknesses in the Pure rules setting and attempts to use it to his advantage. Where Joe sees the Pure rules as an obstacle to overcome, Nigel sees them as a system he can exploit. He sneaks in closed fist punches out of the referee's eye line, which only angers Joe into doing the same out in the open. This costs Joe a rope break and he's quick to burn all 3. Nigel even uses a chair to block a tope, sacrificing one of his own rope breaks to get even more of an advantage. It's a game-changing move for Nigel as it allows him to hit the Tower of London and still get the pinfall despite Joe's proximity to the ropes. Here begins a career-defining reign for Nigel McGuinness as the ROH Pure Champion. By the next time the two face off yet again for the Pure title, Nigel's already begun to settle into his role as the canny defending champion. Within a minute of the action, he manipulates Joe into burning all 3 rope breaks, once more exploiting Joe's weaknesses with the stipulation. It again plays in his favor as, despite Joe grabbing a hold of his patented choke, Nigel is able to smoothly counter into a pinning combination with the ropes for added leverage to defend the title. Over the course of a single year of matches, Nigel went from an irreverent upstart to one of the most clever defending champions in the company, and his rise wouldn't end there. By 2007, the landscape had shifted again. Joe's gone over a year without a title to his name in ROH, but still remains one of its most beloved and well-respected legends, a steady and almost unmovable presence in the company. Nigel, meanwhile, is in the midst of a meteoric rise through the ranks. 2006 saw him begin his iconic rivalry with Bryan Danielson, famously losing the ROH Pure title to him in a unification match in Liverpool. Nigel has been humbled by his loss. The sneaky operator of his Pure title reign transformed into a fiery and hungry fan favorite looking to lariat his way through anybody standing in the way of the ROH World title. Their 5th match here at ROH Dedicated in January 2007 has lower stakes than that though. Instead, this match manifests as an offshoot of the Samoa Joe vs. Pro Wrestling Noah storyline of the time. Having done tours with the company in Japan, Nigel positions himself as a representative defending Pro Wrestling Noah's pride in this match. Not the strongest of setups and a little bit of a stretch, but the match is still fun. They're mostly just riffing on the material they've used before, without the structure of the Pure rules to lend it the same kind of clever narrative. Again, fun, but pretty inessential. It makes a nice teaser, however, for the last match these two would wrestle against each other. March 3rd, 2007, as part of the final weekend of ROH's 5th year festival. This emanates from Liverpool, England, the same city and venue that played host to Nigel's most iconic defeat in the title unification match. Nigel is looking to claim his first win in his home country by toppling Samoa Joe. However, the 5th year festival represents another milestone for ROH. With Samoa Joe set to leave ROH to fulfill his commitments to another promotion, the 5th year festival has doubled as his farewell tour from the company. This is the last chance Nigel will ever have to gain another victory over Joe in ROH, and this time, he has to do it on an even playing field without the Pure rules working to his advantage. With all things equal, Joe easily feels like the more dangerous wrestler. He drops Nigel to the mat and smacks him with a disrespectful slap. A few casual kicks to the leg finally get Nigel fired up as he fires back with a hard slap to Joe in response. The match quickly escalates, finding its way to the outside, with Joe sweeping out Nigel's legs and sending him crashing face first into the apron before lifting Nigel up and swinging him head first into the metal barricade. This puts Nigel at a deep deficit, with Joe nailing a pair of Olay kicks until Nigel hits a lariat to cut his momentum off. With this opening, Nigel works to target Joe's left arm and shoulder to weaken Joe. Only when Joe catches Nigel with an ST Joe does the match become a much more even back and forth yet again. Nigel is able to string some strong offense together with a short arm lariat and the Tower of London in quick succession, but it's not enough to put Joe down. Joe kicks his way out of the deficit though, before nailing some stiff strikes and a power slam to regain the advantage. Joe looks to continue imposing his will until another of Nigel's sudden lariats stops Joe in his tracks. The two struggle on the apron of the ring until a miscalculation lands Nigel in a position for Joe to drop him with the Muscle Buster straight on the apron. The move is so devastating that referees have no choice but to come out and assist Nigel to the back. Basking in his de facto victory, Joe grabs the mic and demands that Nigel return to the ring to shake his hand. When Nigel doesn't reply, Joe demands it by goading and insulting Nigel. Body and pride bruised, Nigel limps his way back to the ring. He denies Joe's arrogant handshake, instead slapping Joe. The match continues, Nigel clearly only working off adrenaline at this point, until Joe again nails the muscle buster in the middle of the ring. Nigel kicks out, barely able to stand, only fighting spirit and determination fueling him. His soul is aflame, but his body refuses to cooperate. It's one of the best displays of modern fighting spirit from any wrestler this century. A perfect understanding of what makes fighting spirit work. It's a refusal to die, even when all sense and logic determines that you should. Fighting spirit alone cannot win matches, however, especially when you've been dropped on the apron with a muscle buster. Joe grabs the choke and Nigel goes out. A loss, but still a display of Nigel's progression. He tapped out in January 2005, but here, Joe had to put his body to sleep before Nigel could stay down. I give this match 4.25 stars. It's a wonderful match. A hidden gem in ROH's long and prolific history. A fantastic display of Samoa Joe's aura and hard-hitting explosiveness as a pro wrestler, contrasted with the undying spirit and passion of Nigel McGuinness. A perfect culmination of an underappreciated rivalry and a great showcase for why both wrestlers are legends in the industry today. Hi guys, Joseph Montecillo here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to catch up on more matches from ROH's past and present, be sure to sign up to Honor Club and subscribe to their YouTube channel. If you want to hear more of me breaking down and discussing pro wrestling, check out my channel and give me a subscribe while you're at it. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Thanks for sticking around, and have a good one.